Hello, Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity, and today we're going to talk about gluten-free diets and the problems with them. In general, I've never been a fan of a gluten-free diet because most people do it the wrong way. They eat the same foods that they would have otherwise eaten with gluten, except they eat a processed version of that that's not really good for us. So gluten-free crackers, gluten-free bread, gluten-free pancakes, gluten-free... We've really taken this too far. And the reality is most of those gluten-free products are crap. The whole thing is to, let's take an apple. An apple is gluten-free. It's not something that... So the idea is to have a diet that doesn't rely on grains that that would normally contain gluten. The idea is just to avoid them altogether. And so the idea that there might be nutrient deficiencies with people on gluten-free diets should not come as a big surprise, because like I said, a lot of the products out there are just crap and shouldn't be eaten, and they're not part of a healthy lifestyle. So in this particular study, they looked at 182 patients with celiac disease. So keep in mind, celiac disease, gluten sensitivity is a spectrum. On one end, we have celiac disease, where when they biopsy the intestinal mucosa, it's flattened out, it looks bad, it's a clear autoimmune response. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have sensitivities, where people's immune system is just not happy with the gluten and the amount of gluten that it gets exposed to in today's lifestyle. So it was 182 patients with celiac disease. 103 of them were on gluten-free diet. And they found that these patients on a gluten-free diet were likely to be deficient in both zinc, vitamin D, and ferritin, so probably iron. Iron and ferritin are, ferritin's a marker of iron stores. So zinc was the one that was pretty common, and zinc plays a huge role in a lot of different things. So a couple things. The take-home messages are really don't try to eat the same stuff, just gluten-free, because most likely it's going to be processed and not something we should be eating anyway. If you really feel like you need to have a gluten-free diet, then maybe it's not a bad idea to take, it's a good idea to take a multivitamin anyway, but even more important to take a multivitamin that has a decent level of zinc in it. And, or, that being said, maybe snack on high zinc foods. Certain nuts are high in zinc, and whole grains generally, but with the gluten-free diet you're avoiding them, and maybe that's why the zinc deficiency is there. But one of the other things I found interesting in this study is that 119 patients with celiac disease were symptomatic. They were having symptoms, whether the study didn't differentiate who was on the gluten-free diet or who was not, but with 119, I mean, that's a good chunk of the people in this study so in other words, they were still having problems, which makes me think that it might not be the gluten that's causing the problem. It's probably some other aspect, or a diet that's not fostering the growth of bacteria that we want. Totally different discussion. But I just wanted to point out that if you're on a gluten-free diet, it needs to be a conscientious diet that is not a processed diet filled with fibers that are just replacing the gluten-free or the gluten-containing grains. As always, I'll post a link to this particular study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.